All right.
Hello, everybody. We are live. Welcome to Sweetcast. 8 people already. That's a pretty good start. We have a special guest today, and it's Spork Man. Spork, also known as Chuck, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome. Great. Glad to have you here. How many days does your campaign have left?
I think we got 14 days.
14. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Still plenty of time. That should be good. We're getting people in the chat here. Matthew Fowler. Hello.
Hey, Matt Fowler. Cool. I've talked with him before.
Very cool. We have a new disguise. Welcome. John Chedester. Hello. Bianca. Hello. Angram. Hello. Rizuka. Yo. Cat Black Cheesemo. Hello. All right. Cool. Awesome. Getting people coming in. That's great. I have no idea who we're competing against.
It's Edwin.
Oh, Edwin streaming. Okay. Yeah, it's always tough. I don't want to directly compete with other, Comicsgate streamers, but it's nearly impossible to do that and still be streaming.
At this point, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I have that same problem because I do. I have my stream, which, by the way, I would love to get you on too. I usually run Friday and Saturday nights right at like that mid time because I'm at the East Coast time, like you are, and I can get snuck right in there before like the guys do their big, their fundraising ones they do at nighttime and stuff like that. So I get that like hour or two in there. I can do a stream real quick before they kick theirs off. So
nice. Yeah. Finding times is always hard, but I get, people have options, I guess, that can be nice sometimes. Mark Trafford says, you've been talking to Rich Johnston in your comments. Yeah. I don't know if it's the real Rich Johnston or not, but yeah, he's been commenting. He's apparently watches my videos. Rich Johnson, if you're watching now, hello. We usually are disagreeing in the comment section, though, it seems like, which is cool. I'm all about disagreeing. That's great. Yeah, Mike Miller is streaming too. Yep. I'm telling you guys, it's too hard. It's too hard to make sure you're not competing with anybody. So hopefully, hopefully this will work out okay. So the topic for tonight, we're going to talk about publishers, and that's because it's been on my mind a lot lately. Downcast is nearing the end of the campaign. There's 3 days left, I think, is where it's at. It's been great. I'm really excited to move on to the next phase. In fact, I've already kind of moved on. not from Downcast, but I've changed gears. Like you could put so much effort into campaigning. And that's important, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I got what I need. Now I want to make sure we get this project done and it's good. So I've been working with Nacho, and yeah, we've already got more character designs and more thumbnail layouts, and he's getting started on it right now. So should be good. So yeah, let's share the screen and let's take a look before we dive into our publishers here. Let's take a look at Spork Man. This is Spork Man Goes to Japan.
Correct.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Pitch it to us.
Sure. So basically, Spork Man Goes to Japan is a homage to both the Western and Japanese culture. It's basically what would the world be like if in Japan it was all anime and manga inspired tropes, and basically we're taking a Western superhero and we're throwing him into this world where everything is exactly like it is in Japanese media. So we have giant robots, giant kaiju, which is giant monsters for those who may not know. We have robo ninjas. We have a shogun who basically is trying to control Japan, and we have transforming robots. So there's a bunch of action stuff, and we also have a lot of comedy too.
See, I gotta think, with a name like Spork Man, there's got to be a good story behind this. How did you come up with Spork Man?
So it actually came about in the winter of '97. Me and my two best friends, we were sitting around one morning at 3 a.m. and we were coming up with silly superhero names. And so my one friend who eventually drew the original art piece for Spork Man, he's like, "Hey, what about Spork Man?" We're like, "Yeah," and he said he has. What if he has sporks all over his body? We're like, oh man, okay, that's a little too silly. So he drew the original one, and yeah, he came out with a really good concept with it. Fast forward a few years, in 2004, my best friend, actually Eric, who is the guy who really is he actually did the original figure, the one that you see there in the campaign. He made a model figure of it off of a red Power Ranger, which kind of really reset the tone of how he would look now. And he ended up doing a cosplay of him at a convention, and a lot of people asked for a comic book, and that's kind of what started the whole thing. So our original first comic book was called Spork Man Conventions, and as you know, it takes place at a convention, and it basically is like him dealing with other superheroes at the local convention and stuff like that. And then this title basically came out of Bored Love, because I'm a huge anime fan, and I love a lot of the Japanese culture, and also a lot of the the shoguns, and you're dealing with the whole culture that Japan has. And I'm like, well, what if we took this trope and we basically threw him in a world where it's like an anime and manga? And we could just play it up as just like, this really fun event, but we still have a very serious story, given that good balance between action and humor and stuff like that. And that's why we have, hence I said, like, hey, what if we came up with Spork Man Goes to Japan? That became the title. And there on issue 3, one of the first, if you look at the issue 3 page that we had of the 3 art pages, that was the actually original concept art that I came up with, the Super Mega Sporktron, and said, what if Spork Man turns on this light and there's this giant robot sitting in the head of the shape of a spork? And so that was kind of like our first conceptual art concept of Spork Man, and then just grew from there. Originally started out as 2 issues, and by the time we were writing such a good story, we went to 3. And this is actually a total of 91 pages. 3 issues for the entry level, and then we are going to have a trade level too. That will have bonus art and stuff like that.
Very cool. Nice. Well, yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. Let's check back with it kind of as we go through the stream here. You still have plenty of time left, and you're 41% funded right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody is interested, please do. I've got the link in the description of this video. Go check it out on Indiegogo, of course. And yeah, if it tickles your fancy or itches your scratch, then go check it out and back it for sure. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good segue because Spork Man is your book, and I wanted to talk about publishers.
Mm-hmm.
And so this publisher is actually your publisher, correct? Wicked Publishing?
Correct.
Cool. And so, well, okay, so first off, when you're writing the title to any video, but streams included, you can't write a title that fully encapsulates everything. So I said conservative friendly. What I'm meaning by that is a publisher that's not going to blacklist you because you're conservative or moderate, or really anybody that's not politically towing the line
mm-hmm.
of the hard left. And so it's not that they're like, it's the Fox News of publishers, but it's a publisher that's going to be friendly to conservatives or other points of view for sure.
And I think it's also, and I'm sorry to interrupt there, I think the other thing too is they don't care about the politics. They just want to publish good comics. That's what they want to do.
Yep. Yeah, and that's to me, like, that's what Comicsgate is about. That's why I'm here. I want to have stuff that politics don't matter. Yep. The story is put before personal politics. And so that's, if publishers are doing that, then I'm happy. We've got a few other publishers we're going to be looking at, but because your publisher is Spork Man, I figured, why don't we start here? Do you know much, or how long have you been published by Wicked?
We've been, our first release was officially back in March. We did an official release of Spork Man Goes to Conventions. right there on the third one. Now I've been talking with them. I do believe it was like September of last year. So we've been working with them like off and on, like, working out like how we would do this, like, what they would offer. I think we officially signed in December, like right at the end, right before the new year, we signed with them. So, and the nice thing is, they're actually publishing a lot of different people within Comicsgate and non-Comicsgate. They actually, the two biggest ones in Comicsgate, of course, us and Canales, and Cowboy Jack, Jack Irons. So those are like the three biggest ones. And then the non-Comicsgate they're going to be doing is like the Mythoverse. Then they have like another comic coming out. Wraith, and then of course then there's M, which is done by the publishers Matt and Mike. So they actually have like their own they have a broad range of creators.
Sure. Yeah, very cool. And Canales is one that I like right away when I scroll down I recognize. I always have good things to say about Canales. He's a cool guy. And he has a really distinctive art style too. You can just pick it out every time I see it. And he's a busy man. So if we're kind of working our way around with some publishers, Cautionary Comics is another one. And I think a lot of people in Comicsgate have heard of Cautionary. I'll admit I don't 100% know the organizational structure of Cautionary Comics. I know that Ben Henderson is I think he's an owner, but he's a big part of it. But there are also others involved, and so yeah, I've heard a few things about. Anyway, I've talked to Ben for a little while about it, but I didn't really think a whole lot about the structure. But it is always interesting to me. So this is I would say even like a Comicsgate publisher, not just friendly to Comicsgate, but they're rooted in Comicsgate, or I've definitely been supporting it. So yeah, that's another cool option. And okay, so this is a question I want to put to you, I guess. When it comes to publishers, what is a publisher doing for you, even a small press publisher, that you can't get when you're self-publishing?
The biggest thing for me is the cost of printing the issues. One of the big problems is, we were self-publishing through Kablam. Great company, by the way. And anybody who's looking to self-publish, I would really recommend them. The problem is is the cost. The cost is a lot higher when you self-publish. The other thing, too, is distribution. When you self-publish, you don't have the distribution method. You're pretty much limited going to conventions, and you'd be lucky if you could get into comic book shops. For instance, like, I know that's something Ben's working on is, getting into comic shops and stuff like that with his, he has certain, backings and stuff like that. But whereas I don't, excuse me, my comic shops are limited. I have maybe 100 miles I can go in every direction to hit those comic book shops. Whereas the publisher, they actually have, I know with Wicked, they have like the whole state of California and Oregon and Washington State they could go through. They told us. So, they have the whole West Coast, which tends to be a higher population amount than we do here on the East Coast side in terms of like marketability. And there's a lot more comic book shops on that way. Also, there's a lot more also anime stores too. So, there's a lot of, in terms of us, there's a lot of options. And I think for the other people, it's the same way. Yeah. Whereas on the East Coast, unless you're hitting like the big cities like, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, New York, your ability to market yourself is a lot lower because it's much broader area.
Yeah. Yeah. This is always, it's a tricky, I don't know, kind of balance to get. If you can get published by some major publisher, they're going to have a lot of reach when it comes to marketing for sure. Smaller press publishers, the question always comes up, well, can I just do that on my own? And the answer is it depends. It depends on the publisher, and it depends on what you're able to do. But almost certainly, if you are teaming up with people and there's sort of a Venn diagram of audience. You know, you might have a lot of overlap, but chances are they're going to be able to reach people that you can't, and vice versa. And that's why even if you're getting published by a publisher, you should be able to market your own stuff as well, because you're going to be able to get farther reach that way.
100%. I agree with that. So it's not just resting on your laurels of, so let's use Image Comics as an example. So, a publisher will go into Image Comics and say, hey, let's say Image is publishing them. Well, if they only rely on Image to publish their things, you might not hit people. Where you got to go out to the con scene, you got to do Twitter, Facebook, all those things in order to broaden your reach.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just looking at the chat here. Somebody says Nacho ? Nacho is the nickname for Ignacio Lazaro. He's the artist on Downcast. He prefers to be called Nacho, so yeah, we go with Nacho. And it makes sense, like Ignacio, Nacho. You can kind of see where that came from. Yeah, for sure. I'm really interested to see in like Cautionary Comics. It's only, I think, a year old, maybe a little bit over a year old.
Mm-hmm.
We're super interested to see how they grow, and where the future takes them, because that could be, I think, good for everybody. If there are publishers that are not, blacklisting people, I think that's always positive to have them be successful.
Exactly. I agree. I think that's one of the big problems is we're facing is, we saw it with Timothy Lim. We saw it with a few others. You have the wrong thing in politics. Or we'll look at EVS. He had the wrong thing, and that people just basically forced him to be kind of forced out, because of his political views and stuff like that. And I think, to me, that's bull crap. I don't care where you fall in on your political view. I have a lot of friends who are, very left leaning. I don't judge them on their politics. I judge them for their character, who they are, and stuff like that. I don't care. All that other stuff doesn't matter to me. I just judge them on how they act and treat me, and vice versa. I want them to treat me how I treat them.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I totally hear you. And that's why, to me, like, it was important right at the get-go to make that distinction, that it's not conservative only publishers, though, if there is if there's a conservative only comic book publisher out there, go for it.
Yeah.
as long as you don't pretend to be something you're not. That's the part that bothers me. But ones that aren't afraid to just publish people based off the book, and they don't care about your politics, I think that's good. I'm just going to point out Dan fan in the chat says, very good topic to be discussing. I was going to go to bed, but the title of the stream pulled me into watching. I'm so glad we're keeping you up. Sorry about that. Yeah, Nacho sounds gang related. That's funny. No, he's definitely not gang related. That's for sure. Yeah, so let's Cautionary Comics is another one. I'm going to pull up. Let's actually go. We're going to start to get into some controversy here. Maybe Antarctic Press. So here's the thing. So if anybody has been, I'm sure that you've been following the whole lawsuit with Mark Wade and all that kind of, all that stuff that's been going down.
Mm-hmm.
The more that I think about it, Antarctic Press has disappointed me that they didn't publish the book. They didn't stick to their guns. On the other hand, they're like, what other publishers were offering publishing deals to anybody? Do you know what I mean? Like, they backed down to the backlash, but at the same time, other publishers wouldn't even go near in the first place. So I don't know. It's tricky, but I'd still say Antarctic Press is somewhat friendly to conservatives. Yeah.
Yeah, because they still publish, Brian Ball. They still publish, Rags, Timothy Lim. So they still publish them. So I would say yes. Really, Antarctic Press was in a rock and a hard place. In the whole situation, the way I look at it, it does suck for Richard, because I think if Antarctic Press would have stuck to their guns, my God, I think they would have. I think that company would have blew up big time. Even more so. The problem is, Punchline too. I would say there, But I think they are, like I said, they're in a rock and a hard place because of where they were at. I can understand some people didn't want to work with Richard. I get that. I get that. But at the same point, they're not the ones dictating because, Ben Dunn's and all that, they're the ones who, they're the ones that control everything. And speaking of Weldon, I actually just commissioned him a art piece for Natsumi, My Hero, Natsumi, and Spork Man, and Versuma crossover poster.
Nice.
So
he's such a good artist.
He's got to, like, I actually have another project called Volt Chaos Myth Gods, and I really, 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 really want him, to do the artwork and stuff like that. And I do really want quick. I saw Jack Straw's. You know what? Honestly, however you feel, where you come down on the whole Antarctic Press thing, it's your view, and I support that 100%. If you don't want to support them, that's fine. I completely get that, and that is your right as a customer.
Yeah.
100%.
So here's the thing. I was thinking about this, and actually had a friend bring it up about Antarctic Press. It does seem. It seems silly to say you're not going to buy from Antarctic Press, but you are going to buy from Marvel. Continue to buy from Marvel. That seems like, the more I thought about it, I was like, you're right. That seems extremely silly because Marvel Comics, if this is about Mark Waid, if that's the issue, Marvel Comics is still paying Mark Waid.
Mm-hmm.
They're still backing him up. And there's a lot of comic artists and writers, comic professionals that have been supporting his GoFundMe, things like that. Whereas Antarctic Press was definitely caught in the middle. So I do think, I don't know, when I think about that, I'm like, if you don't want to support Antarctic Press for those principled reasons, I get that, that's cool. But if you're also still supporting Marvel Comics, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that Dan Fan is in the chat, because she mentioned this in a video, and she's saying here Antarctic was the victim. I think she made some good points. It's tough. They're in a really tough position. I still think it was a mistake to bend the knee. That's always a mistake. They would have been better off to buckle down and just stay off social media for a period of time. It would have been better for them to do that, but they're done. I mean, what is done is done. So none of that can be undone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious though. Anybody in chat? Do you well, I do have super chats available, but if you Sweetcast me, then I'll be able to make sure I read this for sure. Scott says AP was weak. I think he means not malicious. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's exactly right. If you were malicious, why would you have extended a publishing contract in the first place? Doesn't make a lot of sense.
And I get what I get why the Duns did what they did. They were about to lose. I mean, they were in a, because the thing is, I was watching the video. I don't know if you watched the one with Jawbreakers, where he was talking about this. Zach was, he was talking about the fact of, if they would have backed, stuck to their guns and published Jawbreakers, that would have really gave them a shot in the arm of a cash influx, because the amount of granted, so let's say there's 20 to 30,000 comic skaters, just in a rough numbers, okay. So we had about 8, I think he had 10,000 backers or something like that. So 10,000 people buying a comic at $25. That's some serious bank of money. I think I think I would have done the same thing. I would have pushed to keep Antarctic Press, or Antarctic Press should have pushed to keep Jawbreakers, in my opinion. Because I think taking a knee, I agree with you. There's a time to take a stand. This is one of those times.
Yeah. So while I disagree with that, at the same time, I'm looking at some of these, Punchline they fraternize with comics. I haven't even, it's hard because I don't even ask every single person what their stance is. As far as I'm concerned, if you hang out on live streams with well-known Comicsgate people, if you're, nice to fans and you're doing all the right stuff, then, we're cool. So I really respect a lot of the creators actually that they're, they're publishing. So let me check chat here. Art City Comics says hell sweetcast, hell Art City Comics. John Chidester says, I think they were weak in resolve, but Marvel is just crap. Let's see, fire his butt. Sorry guys, I'm going to edit everything, especially now that I'm monetized. So sorry about that. You can't go around taking advantage of the weak. Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely more upset with Marvel, especially because they're still down with all this, Danny Agent 87 says AP owners had a stake in a coloring service firm in contrast with Marvel, and that contact was threatened. I don't know anything about that. That does sound really interesting.
He did. Zach did mention that, and that was really interesting because I didn't know that they actually had some sort of stake in this coloring firm, and that's a huge. I mean, that's a huge. Yeah.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Not only are you not only doing you got this conflict of interest, and then you're trying to block someone from getting comic books into being sold by a publisher and into shops. I mean, that's to me that's grounds for racketing, in my opinion.
Yeah. That man, I didn't even know about that aspect. That is, this whole legal mess could go on for a very, very long time.
I don't think it's going to be, my opinion, the way I look at it, it is not going to be, it is not going to be done this year. I'm looking 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Heroinberg says Gold Digger is generally a good comic with strong female hero. Punchline looks pretty good. We support their Indiegogo, and we were waiting to get the book. Yeah, I didn't have a chance to support that on Indiegogo, but I do want to. I've been meaning to just break down and go buy some on eBay. These books are all selling out.
I backed their Indiegogo, but I have been also grabbing they're on my pull list because I want the Indiegogo version, and then I want the Antarctic Press version of the comics because I know Matt pretty good. Him and I have when they came out with their Indiegogo, I was one of the first people to get them onto their streams and stuff like that. So so I'm really good friends with Matt, really good friends with Timothy, a lot of these other guys, Brian and stuff like that. But they're really good guys that really I don't fault them for what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately the goal is to get your comics out there and to succeed. And that's why, I don't know, the more partnerships and the more like healthy business relationships, that's you're better off for it. So yeah, I'm not going to fault anybody, even if they're working. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like the worst publisher ever. If you're working for like Black Mask or something, you're getting comic work, that's cool. Go ahead, get comic work. I'm not going to buy any of it, but Cap Black Cheesemo says, if I had the Infinity Gauntlet, that situation could be undone. However, doing the snap would kill me. That's true. It would. Spoiler alert. Well, actually, couldn't we just you wouldn't need the snap. We could just go back in time with going into the
quantum tunnels.
Yes. We could do that. That could solve the problem. Heronberg says Gold Digger is actually one of the longest continuously published indie comics and created by a black writer. He's never been championed by the NPC crowd. Yeah, you have to do the right politics. It has less to do, with what they're with identity and more to do with politics.
I mean, the guy who's doing it, I think it's like 240 some issues.
Wow.
For Gold Diggers.
Wow. I didn't realize that's intense. John Chidester says, my opinion on people who are Comicsgate-ish, they are actually Comicsgate, but don't identify with the lies told about Comicsgate. So don't, so they don't take that title. Yeah, I can see that. Depending on how people how people, I don't know, like the words that are going around, I guess. I don't know. Personally, for me, I'm Comicsgate, and I make no apologies for it. But I think it would only hurt me if I was to say, "Oh, I'm never going to work with any publisher, any creators unless they, unless they bend the knee to me." Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as long as we're cool, like, let's be cool. That's how you continue. John Chidester says they are in my okay book, but but are not on the top of my list for books I am looking at. Yeah, that makes sense. I get that for sure. And I think for consumers, it's a different thing. Consumers, you can buy books from wherever you want.
Yep.
They're slightly two different things. One is choosing who you do business with, and there are a lot of factors there. And the other is where you're going to spend your money as a consumer. And yeah, I mean, that is your right for sure, and I will support you there. All right. Let me take a little break here. We're gonna look at Dynamite Comics, but let's look over here. This is my campaign Downcast. I have a feeling that everybody watching right now has either backed it, if they're going to back it, or if they're just not going to back it no matter what. But I'm still going to put a plug in for it anyway. It's been cool because you can kind of see toward the end of the campaign, you get a little bit more excitement, a little bit more of a bump. Except I will tell you, Mondays are the slowest day for backers for sure.
Mm-hmm. Fridays seem to be the best.
Yeah, Fridays are good. Man, yesterday, Sunday, it was on fire. Like Saturday night and Sunday was pretty great. So yeah, I'm so close to $22,000. It's like $96 away. So if you haven't backed it yet, the link's in the description below. Feel free to check it out. And why not back it? Because you're running out of time. We got 4 days left. And that's going to change to a 3, I think, in an hour or something like that.
Now, are you going in demand then on Friday or yeah, Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd still.
I want to be able to get in there real quick before.
Yeah. We will go in demand. I think it's still going to take some time to make the book, so that makes sense. The benefit of getting in before the campaign runs out is then that money is just part of what we're getting from Indiegogo, which is nice because that just helps us to get more stuff done immediately. And yeah, I've already been using, I'm not using this money, I'm using my money to get things rolling. We wanted to get started as soon as possible. So yeah, it'll be really nice to have that money because we genuinely need it to do this. So it'll be good.
For sure. I know, like, that was one of the big things with us, like everything with, when we did the first release of Japan, everything was funded out of pocket, still is being funded out of pocket. Everything being done, like the cover art, all that stuff is all coming out of mine and Eric's pocket, none of it has come from the campaign at all. So, like pages to get done coloring for the promotional artwork and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So
yeah, I actually sat down with my wife today. We went over the numbers because to make all this work, like I started an LLC and I'm treating it's just like another business. And so we were looking at the numbers, and it actually was like just for this campaign to get where it's at, it was like over $1,500 just for 5 pages. You know what I mean? A couple covers. And well, yeah, and this print too. But you run into just little things you don't think about. And those they add up. So I'm really glad that everyone supported it. Something else that surprised me, there's only 4 left of these collector bundles, which they're a really good deal. One of, I think, the best deals, unless you just want nice. 10 copies of the book. there's only 4 left. So that'll be really cool. Couple, if we sold a couple of these, we'd be at 22,000. That'd be awesome. Let's check in with Spork Man too while we're here. I'm always paranoid about refreshing anything, so I might just wait till the very end of the stream. But yeah, don't forget that Spork Man Goes to Japan is on Indiegogo right now, and yeah, asking for 5,500. That's totally achievable goal. You're already 41% there with 55 backers. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, we went with last time we did what really brought our cost down was the signing with our publisher, because I mean $2,000 of that was a lot, was spending for printing and stuff like that and shipping. So that's where for us, we were able to save some money, was signing with a publisher, because they brought our printing costs down quite drastically. So
yeah, that's a great point. And that's been, I know that not everybody likes variant covers for crowdfunding campaigns. I'm not a huge fan of variant covers for like comic shops when it's used as a predatory practice. I don't have a problem whatsoever if they're on crowdfunding campaigns, because it's not hurting anybody. But the nice thing is it really enables you to sell more copies and therefore get your cost down for printing, just because you get volume, which is nice. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody that's bought multiple copies. That's it helps a ton. Okay, so we're looking at Dynamite. There's some
sorry, I'm a huge Vampirella fan.
Nice.
I love Vampy. She is like one of her and Deja are like two of my favorite characters.
Very cool. And it's funny because I don't traditionally, I guess, when I thought of Dynamite, I definitely wouldn't call them like a conservative publisher. Like that's not what would come to mind. But things have changed so much. Like the world is just a different place. And so it's not that they're a conservative publisher. It's that they apparently don't care about political correctness. And I think that's really what it comes down to. So I don't know if you've heard like this hasn't been officially announced, but it kind of accidentally was announced. But Cyberfrog and Vampirella crossover covers. You hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So on Ethan Van Sciver's live stream, this was like weeks ago. I'm surprised that it hasn't spilled out everywhere. But Doug TenNapel accidentally spilled the beans and asked Ethan if, is that Dynamite thing still happening? Yeah. And so yeah, he did say that there would be some crossover covers with Cyberfrog and different characters like Vampirella. Yeah, so that does tell me something about Dynamite. That's that they don't care what people think.
Well, and I think Slick Rick brought up a really good point, because they were both Harris projects before Harris went under, so it would make sense.
Yeah.
So, but that's awesome though. Congrats! I'm happy that Ethan is getting some love again. For Vampy, because
yeah,
she's been in some bad hands lately.
Scott says we're not talking about this. I never heard not to talk about. I just heard it on a live stream. So to me, it was public. But I'm just mentioning it in passing. So we'll see. Hopefully nobody gets really mad at me. Slick Rick says Cyberfrog started in Vampirella. I think so. It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Sweetcast, how many days left for Downcast? 4 days. Yep. Hope you got that answered. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Do you have plans for future Downcast books? Asks Matt C. Yes, I do. I actually revamped the script a little bit, because I was thinking initially when I launched it that there was going to be a beginning, a middle, and an end, just so it could be like a one-shot kind of satisfying thing. Really, like I want it to be a bigger story, and so rather than, there's going to be a sense of resolution at the end, but it's also going to be sort of just set up for the next book. I would like to do 2 more books. I want to see how the first one's received. And then I'm definitely going to do a second one for sure. But I want to see how the first one's received first before I commit for sure. But I would love to do 3 books at least, just to do like a nice robust story arc. That's the goal.
And that's, 3 is always a good number. That's what we ended up doing with our comic. We ended up doing 3 issues, and it's a good way to, you can kind of space things out. If you can't fit stuff in like a single issue or 2 issues, that third one is enough to kind of give that little extra, so that way you're not cutting your story off where you need to.
Yeah, and that's the thing with, I just think how I like to read comics, and again, this kind of ties into why publishers are nice. But the way I like to read comics is it's an ongoing, like it's a serialized format, and the story continues. It's not just like it's rare that I'll just read a one-shot comic and be like, man, this is the best one-shot I've ever read. You know what I mean? Like I personally want more. So I'm imagining that's what more people, I'm imagining I'm not alone there. More people want that. Is there really 76 people watching and only like hardly anybody chatting? Wow. Yeah,
yep.
75 people. Wow, this is a great turnout. Thanks everybody.
I think this is the largest stream I've ever been on. My streams are usually really small. Yeah, I think the only other one was like Malin, and that was like at the first one I was on with him. I think we had like 52 or something like that. So
yeah, wow, yeah. I've had, I think the most I've had at any given time, it was like 150 on a live stream at once, but that was like it was the moment after, it was like the same day, really soon after when Peter Simeti was swatted, and so I was going to be streaming anyway. I just heard about it, and so like, well, that's what we're talking about. So we had tons of people on just to see what was going on. But yeah, it seems actually like Monday nights have been doing pretty well for me. They used to be terrible streaming nights, but they've been a little bit better. Let's see. Slick Rick says the only problem I have with Dynamite Comics is the stock they use for blank variants is completely resistant to Copic pencils, etc. Artists have told them, but they don't care. Interesting. I did not know. I don't think I've ever touched one of their sketch variants.
Yeah, neither have I. I'm not really a big fan of the blank variants. I guess it's just me. I prefer like real cover, the actual cover art and stuff like that. If I'm going to get something commissioned by somebody, I would rather get like an actual art piece that I could actually put on my wall versus a comic.
Yeah, I see that. I have some comics that I hang up. Like a couple. I tried to get. It's not like that expensive, but I wanted to get a Ninja Turtles like number 4, I think, or number 3. I forget which the cover was. And then I have one of each of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini micro series, whatever they call them, where there's just the one shots of each. And I hang those on the wall. I'm still missing the Ninja Turtles number 4, so I've got something else as a stand-in. But yeah, other than that, it's like having a print. I would prefer to hang that up. I'm not sure what I would do with if I had a bunch of blank variant covers that had actual drawings on them.
Yeah, I'm the same way, which is why I kind of don't like them. I don't know. I like, because I find that the 11/17 posters are really good. They're like a really good size, because the frames aren't that expensive, because when you get those really large ones, I have like I think I have like a 32 or 24 by 32 or something like that, and that frame was like $60 some.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's steel metal one too, so that's partly it. But like the regular frames, I can go to Michael's, and I picked them up on sale for like $20-$30.
See, yeah, and I've done like the dollar store frames, because they have some that are pretty darn close to being the right size. They're a little bit big, so I would add like a black backing paper to it. But yeah, it didn't I don't know, they just fall apart. They're trash. we'll be honest. Let's see. Nev Sir says, I'm sorry, but I got here late. Who are you talking to tonight? Yeah. Oh, I got to stop blocking it on me. So we have Chuck also known as Spork, and he is one of the writers, a co-writer on Spork Man Goes to Japan. So yeah, that's our guest today. I did just drop the link to in another one of my chat groups. I'm surprised I had no one come in from the first group. It apparently is not a great night. So I invited a few more people. We'll see if anyone else drops in. Let's see. Black Cap says, Sweetcast, nice. So Downcast is going to be a trilogy. My book is a one-shot split in 3 parts. The script for part 1 is done, and we'll start doing pages soon. Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I want more story personally. Just to write it, it feels better, and I feel like that's what I would rather read personally. Heroinberg says, let's see, Dynamite, the Barbarella reboot, has great pinup art, but the stories have been disappointing. Looking forward to picking up some TPBs of the trade paperbacks. I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, trade paperbacks of the boys, though, as the TV show approaches. Cool.
Is that the one that Amazon's doing about these superheroes that kind of go like rogue and like they take over everything?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. Something funny about Red Sonja. Writer Amy Chu saw a Comic-Con panel she was on. There were more panelists than people in the audience. She signed my Red Sonja. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. There's more people on the panel than in the audience. That's bad.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah. Goodness. Yep. Okay. So Dynamite. Am I missing? I'm curious, chat. Am I missing any publishers that are, we'll say, Comicsgate friendly, conservative friendly, friendly if you have like you're open about a political opinion that is not far left social justice activism? Let me know if you can think of one. I would be interested to see what it is. Well, I will add Alterna Comics too. They're they don't bend the knee either. I feel like I talk about Alterna a lot. Speak of the devil, there's Peter Smetty. Hey, Peter. Scott is in the house too. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, brother. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, talking about.
Good to see some Spork Man tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Good to see you again. We were on a chat before.
yeah, that's right, brother.
Isn't it cool that it makes it such a small world? Like you can actually network with people just because of these live streams. It was always the most difficult thing before, for me anyway, to network with other comic creators until I got into this whole live streaming thing.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, I think what's happening in CG is absolutely due 100% to YouTube.
Yeah, it definitely because you can talk. Like it's not just typing or tweeting. Having long form conversation makes a big difference, I think.
Hello there.
Hey, Eric, welcome.
Eric,
what's up, guys?
Brother?
I can tell now which of my chat groups is more active now. I have to keep making new ones, and I'll drop links, and people will stop coming, so I create a new one. And yeah, this is a newer one. So I'm glad you guys could come in.
Some of those folks think they're getting too big for their britches, and they don't need you anymore, Clint. That's terrible.
Well, and I don't think anybody needs me.
I can relate.
That's right.
I have a teenager. Well, she'll be a teenager soon.
Yeah. I actually read a really interesting article about Gen Z, I guess, and some of their prep. I think I'm going to make a video about it though for tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk about it. No spoilers.
Way to tease it and then walk away.
You'll have to watch it tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll have to find more content for a video, and I don't want to do that to myself. So that's not cool. Let's see. Slick Rick says you draw or get a known artist to draw on them, then get them slabbed by the CGC for protection. It's a nice way to own original art rather than just a piece of paper. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Peter Smetty says you talk about Alterna Comics a lot? ? Yeah, I feel like I do. I don't know. I really respect Alterna Comics. So
same here. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about who's good.
That's right. Yeah. and the ones I really hate, I guess I talk about them too. Speaking of, I backed Alternate Comics crowdfunding campaign, and we just got a box full of comics today, so that was pretty cool. All age books is Oh, yeah, I did post it on Twitter. That was my son there. Man, I'm having a hard time keeping up now with these Sweetcasts. Just to let you guys know, I am monetized. So if you really want to get read fast, then that's that is an option for sure. Just to throw in a super chat. Let's see. Heroenberg says yes. The boys. Oh, that's the title. Is the one where the heroes go rogue and take over authoritarian style. Is similar to the Authority, but a lot more raunchy. All right.
You know what? It's good. What is it? Netflix or is it Amazon that's going to be doing that?
Amazon.
Are they doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was going to say if it was Netflix, I mean, they'll probably show it all, but
Yeah. Nevsir says we should take a look at Patchwork Comics. I've never heard of them. They're just starting, but they do good work. I believe they accept any kind of work. Politics isn't a problem. Well, let me look them up. Patchwork Comics. We will see.
Can I just say that it's sad, just to expand on my comment I made earlier, that in order for something to be conservative friendly, it has to be like every other business was in the world, say 15 years ago, which means
I know
unbiased.
Right.
They just want to make money. I mean, there's greedy.
Right. Profit driven. Yeah. Isn't this crazy though? Like you think about it, and I don't know. It's just weird. Like you're making strides in comics, but to be able to match up with a creative team and a publisher and just and even a printer sometimes, just to get your stuff out there, it feels like your politics have to all align. It's insane. I don't get that.
Well, I think one of the big problems is that people are just so outspoken about their politics these days because of social media. I don't know what your politics are, Clint, but I could sure as heck find out. Go over to your Facebook page, see at the last election, who were you sharing, who did you like, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I know, I don't like this guy. He's a big old conservative.
Yep. It's true. Yeah. Which is kind of sad, because I even think that's why I don't use Facebook anymore. Because it's not like strangers politics, it's like friends and families and like my uncles and stuff like that, and hearing people's specific political opinions all the time. It's like, what, it's like Thanksgiving dinner, like the worst parts about Thanksgiving dinner all the time. I just can't.
Not today. Say
sorry, what's that?
Nothing. I said not today, Satan.
Get thee behind me.
That's right. So it looks like I'm looking at Patchwork Comics right now. I think this is, I hope this is the right website. It looks like indie comics for a new age of readers. Interesting.
Yeah, it looks like they only got about a couple titles.
Yeah, we're talking really new. That's the thing, is there's so many really small publishers like this. I mean, I don't know. Like every time I turn around, there are new publishers.
Have you guys heard of TKO Comics?
Yes.
Nope.
Yeah, I just became aware of them on Instagram. They sell trades, but they also sell like a boxed version of like all their floppies at once. It's kind of like Netflix for comics. So let's say it's an 8-issue series. You get a box with all 8 issues, like up front.
Yeah. I think that's really neat. They seem a little bit more established.
Well, they've got money is what I figured out.
That's what
they've
I mean.
Yeah.
And they've got some creators. I mean, they've got Garth Ennis writing for them, Jeff Lemire.
Yeah.
You know.
Betty's doing colors on Sarah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
They need to add a certain. They've got some good letterers here, so I might have to check them out.
Another one they're talking Liberty Hill Publishing. I don't know. Never heard about them. Peter Smetty says, awesome. Glad the books got there. Yeah, man, they're cool. My son's really excited to read them. Sci-fi for me says, FYI, conservative friendly genre media here. Our stance is not to take a side against people who disagree with our views and opinions. Shows. Let's see. We have a good mix on staff. Awesome. You publish comics, sci-fi for me. That's what I'm guessing.
I think they're media.
Media, yeah. That's cool. That's the way that things. It seems like that was the norm. That's the way things used to be. Now you have to do all this research ahead of time. It's kind of weird. Von Klaus, welcome to the panel. How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Hail Monster MD.
Very good.
What's up, man?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm just having a little beer and making Monster MD stuff to show you guys.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Good combo.
Go grab one.
Yeah, please do.
Your book's coming out really soon, isn't it? Is it next week?
Everyone keeps saying that. Maybe I should make it next week. I
don't
was
know
going
why.
for the end of May. 29th, 28th, maybe at midnight on the 28th, right when it turns 29th, at midnight, I'll launch this puppy.
Yeah, keep them waiting.
Thinking.
Anticipation.
Yeah, no, yeah. Keep people wanting it. That'll be good. When people are asking, when does it launch? Wait, when does it launch? Then you know you've got them. That's good.
Someone wrote me and said, "Just launch the book, man. Just get it out."
Hey, Clint, let me run something by you here. The marketing brain in me is working here. So you got, like, for instance, you've got your comic ending on a Tuesday, right?
My book's ending in 4 days.
Yeah,
so
it's what is
not
that,
a
next Tuesday?
not a Tuesday.
Well, Friday. So if a CG book is ending on a Friday, if another CG book could come out on the same day, you could literally do cross promotional stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like get some synergy going, on some of the telethon. If you've got that 24-hour overlap at the beginning and the end.
So something I've noticed with my campaign, if you're on the trending, like if you're on the front page at all, even at the bottom of the front page, and somebody launches a new book or they're doing like a really big push, you will see backers happening at that same time, only because it's just driving traffic to Indiegogo, and your campaign is close enough on trending that you will get backers from it. That's something that I have noticed. If you're not on that first page, I don't think it makes a difference.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's just anecdotal evidence, but I haven't been on trending for a little while now. So
you're on my front page.
You're trending in our hearts, Clint.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're at the bottom of my front page when I go to Indiegogo.
That's great. You know what that means? It's because I think I'm on the last stretch, and I genuinely over this weekend I've had some nice backing coming on, especially Friday. It was kind of shocking, or not Friday, Sunday. I had several backers, so that was really great. Monday it always slows down. Super chat from Kyung Lee. He says can't join, but I'll be lurking. Thanks, Kyung. Yeah, he's in one of the groups. I think he might even actually be in both of them, my chat groups. So yeah, anytime, and no pressure whatsoever. Sci-fi for me says we covered as much news as we can, events, interviews, articles. Yeah, cool.
I put their link in our chat so that way you can check it out.
Cool.
So
yeah, appreciate that. Let's see. Not sure if I should suggest Saturday morning. They have no politics in comics policy, but they rely on diversity as a selling point for their company a little too much. So this is another phenomenon. I don't know if I can call it a phenomenon. This is another thing that I hear happen where people pretend that something is not politics. They'll say it's not politics, but it most certainly is politics. Just curious, have any of you watched the Joe Rogan podcast that included the Adam, what's his name? Adam Ruins Everything. Did you guys watch that interview at all?
No,
I muscled my way through that one. Yeah.
You muscled your way, Eric. Something that killed me is they were talking about the beta male, alpha male thing. and Adam was surprised that people thought of it as politically driven. He's like, it's not politics, you know. It just has to do with, you know, feminism and like gender roles and stereotypes and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, kind of sounds like politics. That was cringy. If you guys want to cringe, actually, it was pretty great.
If you want to laugh, you should check out the
yeah,
the supercut of that particular topic.
I'll have to,
they've been doing. I don't know how these supercuts, how long they've been going on, but this guy makes these supercuts, and he basically makes Joe and whoever's guest is just fight. It's really funny. So he'll just edit it out. He'll edit it in a certain way, and they just start arguing about beating each other up, and it's funny.
It's funny.
You know, since you brought the topic up, Clint, I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, like, think about it. You know, back in the 90s and 20 years ago, you know, political correctness was a thing, but, you know, it was only political because it had the word political in it. You know, it wasn't like it's more of a culture thing, but nobody really weighed in heavily. I think it's different now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's become weaponized now. It feels like, I don't know, like for me, if you can make a case, like there are certain words, okay, like it's no surprise. I like to keep my language clean, you know, regardless of being monetized. Like there are certain things I'm not interested in saying. There are certain things like I don't want to hurt people's feelings, you know. The problem is that people will prey on that. I feel like most people don't want to hurt other people's feelings. But when it becomes predatory, like you can't say X, Y, and Z, otherwise you're a terrible person that should never work. I don't know. That's the way it feels to me. It's been weaponized.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, historically, it was invented as a weapon. Here in the States, yes, only now are we seeing the real fangs in a much more predominant, or widespread type way. But I mean, it was always invented as a way of. I heard it actually kind of was invented as a joke. It was used as a weapon against their enemies immediately back when it was invented in the Soviet Union. But it was kind of a joke because they said, "Hey, like." I wish we could just tell people, yes, what we're telling the people from the government is not factually correct, but it's at least politically correct. And they kind of laughed. And then they went, well, why don't we just start doing that? Why don't we just tell everyone?
Yeah, I mean, it started, I don't know, I even think back, like you can watch Oprah reruns, like really old ones, like go catch them on YouTube, you know, and they'll be talking about topics and political correctness or things like that. It's been around, but it doesn't have the stranglehold. Now it's like, yeah, it's weaponized.
Hang on a sec. You watch Oprah reruns on YouTube?
Back it up.
Let's rewind a bit here.
Stop right there. Yeah. You know, like you'll see the video come up like Oprah interviews the KKK. And then you'll click on it. It's like a new picture of Oprah. And then you realize it was recorded in 1989. You never clicked on it. Okay. Well, we'll just say it was for research then.
You want to see some classic TV. Watch like all the Geraldo racism, neo-Nazi specials from like the late 80s, early 90s. Those are classic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some Donahue.
Oh my god.
We didn't mind getting schlocky back then. Like we would put on the weirdest, freakiest, you know. And then Jerry, I guess, came and just overloaded us on it.
Yep.
You guys ever watch? Well, you never click on any of that kind of stuff, but British.
Not that I meant to.
I don't remember the guy's name, but the British version of like one of those daytime talk shows where it's like every episode, all they do is, are you the father? You know, is he the father? They do a DNA test.
Oh,
every
That
episode.
sounds awesome.
Yeah. And it's like they're crazier. I swear they're crazier over there than we are when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's I don't know. It's nutty. Dave T Geek says it's painfully unironic that his show is called Adam Ruins Everything. That is the mantra of the radical left, to take the fun out of everything. Hey, well said. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slick Rick says, Sweet Cast sitting there watching Oprah reruns. Yeah, no comment. Jeremy Kyle, Slick Rick says, yes, Jeremy Kyle is exactly the guy I was talking about. He's the British version. And that's like garbage tier. It's like the equivalent of Bleeding Cool, but for daytime television, if you will. That got real quiet. I want to see if Rich Johnson is really watching my streams. He's been commenting in my videos.
I've been able to email that guy and get responses back, and he's just like, "No, what you're saying is bullocks," and I'm just like, "No, Rich, you gotta listen. It's wrong. You know what they're doing is wrong, Rich. You gotta report the truth." And he's like, "Bullocks, all bullocks." It's so funny. I love it when he responds to me.
I got in an argument on Twitter with him once. He started it, and this was before my New Year's resolution.
He started the argument with you.
He did. I can't remember exactly, but it was, you've heard this argument, but were comics political, or comics have always had a liberal lean? That's the argument. But then at the same time, like, I thought comics were like, weren't they traditionally like sexist and homophobic and all the isms and phobics, so what is it, like, which is it? Were they progressive or were they like really regressive? You can't have it both ways. But I'm waiting for another thumb down to go. Rich, are you watching? I just want to know.
If you're here, thumb us down once. Thumb us down once, Rich.
It's like a seance.
I hope he types bullocks in the chat. Bullocks!
Turn your lights down and light your candles.
Yeah.
Rich. There somewhere.
That's so funny.
Amazing. How the heck do we have 2 downloads already?
You did lose a like. Oh, and you gained it back. I was at 54.
Now I have 6 thumbs down.
His fan club's here.
That's so funny. Take it back, guys. I was just kidding. No, I don't even think it matters. That's funny. All right. We were talking about conservative publishers. I think we kind of covered, not conservative publishers, ones that are fine if you're not far left.
Open-minded, maybe.
I like that. Open-minded publishers. Yeah. I don't know. Like, is there a benefit to having a publisher, a small press publisher? Does it matter? You're just going to do it. Just do it yourself. That's what I've been thinking about quite a bit. Nobody has a good answer. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've not waded there. I haven't waded into that water. I haven't even really looked into it yet. So you find out and you tell me. You report back.
Clint, we've talked about this. I mean, a little bit about the whole idea that when you take on one of these books on your own, I mean, you are the publisher. So what does that mean? That means that you take all the risk, but you also get the reward. And so, and then, I mean, my stance is if I can make Door Kickers 1 go, and at least a going concern, and it makes its money back, and I don't need to be able to buy my wife a new Louis Vuitton purse after I
what, you don't want to?
My wife's Korean. I already do buy her. But the point is that it's like then the next go around, that's where the real question about, I think, a publisher really comes in, because that's where you are a known quantity. You have a proven product. They may have some ideas of things that they can do with it. It may be a good fit, like, the topic, like Downcast may fit really well with, say, an Antarctic or somebody like that. And, even though you're disappointed with them, maybe that would be a good fit as far as a business model for you. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. These are all, I don't know, hard questions, I guess. But I think it's something that a lot of indie creators go through, like growing pains, I guess. And deciding, I guess, how you look at the future. And I don't know. We'll see. Slick Rick has some answers for us. He says, have you seen Action Lab comics? Action Lab. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Not sure if they're politically one way or the other, but they put out content that isn't politically correct, like Zombie Tramp.
Yeah, my artist draws Zombie Tramp.
Oh, I did not know that. That's cool. He's on like two different monster books.
Also he draws Vamp Blade, so he's on like 3.
both really good books too. So
yeah.
Well, he's a pretty damn good artist. So
damn good artist. Yep. Damn good books. And yeah, Action Lab does their own thing. It doesn't give a damn, and they make more risque adult comics. It's fun.
Yeah,
I think they even have a kids friendly line, don't they? Is that the one they have their own like separate line that's like all ages?
I do believe they
I bet they do. I
Yeah.
bet they do.
Yeah.
I dream of a publisher that's like our publisher, because I'm one of those guys that likes to think of us teaming up like the badasses we are and just making the industry pay attention. But I still don't know if it's realistic or if it would work out. I know, or if it would end up just causing a huge mess. That's just what I don't want, but I do dream of like, and then we all like made our own publisher and worked together to make the best comics ever and made like a real like impact in the history of comics and in the industry and reworked things. But at the end of the day, wouldn't we still have to deal with Diamond theoretically? And we'd end up falling into the same pitfalls as a lot of other people,
Yeah,
well, that's the whole point of a publisher. Is you as a creator don't have to deal with Diamond. You just turn your books in on time and do your promotional piece, and you're done. I mean, that's the point of having a publisher.
But if you started a publisher, if Comicsgate, if we all of us in this room tonight came together and said, we're going to form the new Better Than Image, and we're gonna be the third largest publisher in comics, or even fourth or whatever, that would be a pretty big impact. That'd be a big deal. But that takes a lot more. It takes a lot more than just making comics. Yeah. Eric gets it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we all agree. It takes a lot of money.
We're going to end the stream there.
Good night, folks.
On that note. So that's an interesting point. I mean, money is always like the sticking point with this kind of stuff. For the most part, we're all self-made, bootstrap kind of guys. So, we've, to the extent we have to, we fund our own stuff out of pocket until the money starts to come back in. Clint, you were talking about that earlier in the stream about how much money you had to put out of pocket in order to get the stuff.
So far. Yeah.
So if you were to have an image for CG, because that's really what we're talking about, more of an alliance of like-minded people that are kind of doing their own thing, but under an umbrella, the more successful, like tier 1, round 1, whatever guys could come in, they create their books, and then they could literally set aside some seed capital in order to kind of draft the next round of CG guys to come in and then help with, startup money, something along those lines. I mean, that would be a business model that you could use. So it's almost like an incubator for comic creators.
Oh, I also think maybe it has more to do with distribution than it does with publishing. I mean, publishing is important too, but what if you started a distribution company that could actually compete with Diamond? I feel like Diamond would just say, hey, any comic shop that orders from this new guy, you're cut off from us and you can't buy books.
Marvel couldn't do it. Don't you remember, was it back in the 90s, Marvel pulled out a Diamond and created their own distributor?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Diamond is, keep in mind, they're not listed as a distributor. They're listed as a publisher. And that's how they've been able to get away with everything.
Oh, God. It'd be like us going up against the mob.
Basically. Basically, yeah. Good analogy.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely guns in Comicsgate then.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, because I am published, by Wicked Publishing, and they do have like issues where they go into these different stores, and Diamond is kind of putting a threshold on some of these indie companies grabbing indie creators and stuff like that, because they don't want that. They feel that we're coming into their space, but at the same point, these LCSs, they're like, hey, we need new fresh blood coming in to get people in.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It just seems like so easy because it's not that big of an industry, really. Like, but no one's done it yet successfully. So I don't know. I'm like, why hasn't anyone done it? It's shocking.
Our alternative, they're trying. So,
yeah.
Well, I honestly, I think trying to distribute in comic shops, the Diamond model, the direct model, I think that's a losing proposition in the long run. I think you have to kind of be disruptive in how you're going to solve the problem of distribution. And so what does that mean? That means finding places that your comics aren't already. So you're not competing head to head against Diamond. You're doing a, kind of a flank maneuver.
You know what I'd like to do, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in the stream, is to me, comics are about reading something in a serialized format. I thought, wouldn't that be great if you could do a Indiegogo for an entire series, or like a mini series, like 6 issues, and once each one gets finished, you get it shipped to you. So you pay once, and then it's being fulfilled every every other month, or however, whatever your schedule is. You ship out a new edition until the whole thing's done. But the problem is you've got shipping 6 times over instead of once, and that's a deal breaker. Like that's terrible to have to do shipping like that.
What's kind of like the TKO? I think their idea is they want to preserve the floppy, as it exists. Yeah. So their collection of floppies is a way to do that. So they, in the end, you still have these floppies.
Yeah. And floppies they sell better right now than trade paperbacks do. They just are taking up more market share. At least it was a few months ago. It seems like every time I recite something I looked up a few months ago, everyone's like, "You're wrong." I'm pretty sure that's right, though.
That doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think we solved all the problems.
Yeah.
We did it.
The industry's fixed.
Nailed it. I'm gonna share the screen again here. Let's look at Spork Man. We've been streaming for a little while. Why don't you go ahead and pitch it to us again? Give us the elevator pitch.
Sure. The Spork Man is a comic about a superhero that travels to Japan on a superhero exchange program, and he battles against the mysterious Shogun G. And it is a homage to both American and Western, or Eastern and Western Japanese cultures. Sorry, I apologize here, guys. And basically, Spork Man, what would his life be like if he gets injected in Japan? And in our Japan, is it like in the anime and manga?
Very cool. And this is a good deal, actually, because you can pay $15 and get 3 physical floppies and a poster for $15. That's a really good deal. So that's volumes 1 through 3. Again, yep. Serialized format. We were just talking about this. So yeah, I'd love to be able to refresh this. I'm not going to do it yet, but I'd love to be able to refresh this and see the number go up. That'd be pretty great. Also, I'm going to show off my campaign Downcast. There's 4 days left, and we're so close. Like, this could be 2 of these collector bundles away. Really, 2 of them. There's only 4 of them left too. So, and that would bring us to 22,000, and that's pretty respectable. A respectable way to go into Tuesday, I'll say, because I think we can still hit 25 grand by the end of the time here. So that's in the link description. There's a link in the description below for both of these books. Yeah. What am I doing now? There we go. I'm going to unshare. Stop sharing. There we go. All right.
Professional streamer here, guys.
I know. Yeah.
Broadcast professional.
Yeah. It's not like I do this every day or anything. Well, maybe not stream, but I'm making videos every day. Guys, it's been a really great turnout. Lots of people. I'm going to look back and see. No, people are talking. Action Labs is based outside Pittsburgh. They also do one of the most PC comics that libraries love, Princessless. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I've seen Action Lab comics. I just haven't. I've not read anything that they've done. So, yeah, I think we're caught up now. Cool. All right. Well, I don't know. Any last words? I've totally I don't want to keep the stream going, but I feel like I kind of made the points I wanted to make. So now I'm, I don't want to bore people. So no points. All right.
I just put a tweet out saying we're all streaming. Now we got to come up with a different topic.
Well, I'm actually going to have to step out here. I got to go to work tomorrow morning. So
makes sense. Hey, really appreciate you dropping by.
No, thank you for letting me come on. I appreciate it, Sweetcast. Appreciate it.
You bet. We'll see you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
This is not in keeping with topic, but if you want to roast some lettering, I could pull up some lettering actually.
Oh boy, are we going to do this now? Let's do this.
should we do it now? Should we do it now, or should we do a dedicated stream?
Let's call this the test run.
Yeah,
test run. Okay.
This is the pilot episode. We're going to pitch this to the broadcast.
Right. You got to give me a few minutes here.
Right.
I'm going to pull up. I think I have everything on my DeviantArt. Okay, and there's some rules here because you're not roasting the artwork. I think we've done that. I mean, you can roast the artwork. I'll say that. If you want to roast the artwork, that's cool too. But the point of this is lettering needs to be roasted. Let's see.
We're calling this is why your lettering sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta see. Yeah.
So I take it you're doing your own lettering.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus.
That's what he's telling me.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely my lettering. Right. I'm gonna share the screen here and lock it on me. And yeah, so this is one little thing I had going on, and this was a great learning experience. I'm gonna start with where I think this is page 1. And I think I'm going to have to make it bigger. I don't know. Is that okay? Do you want to be that close, or do you want to see the full page?
Let me switch monitors here. Can you zoom in a skosh?
It'll go like that.
Here, I tell you what. I have a vertical monitor. Let me just go to your page, and I can look at it full screen.
Look at it vertically. Okay. Yeah.
So what's your DeviantArt?
So my DeviantArt is Splinter, capital S, Splinter MBA. And that's all one word, like Splinter has a master's degree.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. And then I found that. And then I'm looking for
Midas. Midas. Yeah, that's the gallery.
Okay, what page are we looking at?
I believe this is M1. So it's, yeah. Why does it say 3? M1 3F? I don't know. M1. This should be page 1.
Okay. Whew, boy. All right. Where we
okay, hold on, let me get the chat up here.
All right.
Chat, man, I really need a second monitor. Let me pop out the chat, and I'm gonna go to DeviantArt and then pull up the chat. You're not gonna be able to read what is written here, probably.
You can probably zoom in for them. Just go into the top 2 panels for now. We'll go panel by panel.
Top 2 panels. And chat, yeah, enjoy. This is, I think, first off, in all seriousness, this is important. Now it's like a pet peeve of mine, bad lettering, and I learned enough to know that it's not as easy as people make it out to be, and it's important. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Eric,
okay.
First 2 panels.
Okay, panel 1. I'm going to assume that the person off panel, or the hands that we see, is the one talking.
No, that'd be incorrect.
Is this Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. Okay. So is it a caption?
No. So it's the guy. See the guy in panel 2 that is talking.
Okay.
It's him starting to talk in
It's
panel
him starting to talk. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, this is horrible.
Let me have it. Let me have it.
Let me tell you. First of all, this is actually a lot better than I was expecting.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'll start. I mean, you have a comic book font. It's not, Helvetica or Arial or Comic Sans or Papyrus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Your balloon shapes, you actually are pretty decent. They're not just ovals or circles. I'll give you that much.
Okay. That I will take that, and we're gonna end the stream.
And I'm out.
No. Let me have it. Yeah, those are both important things, though, too. Yeah.
All right. I would say, was this printed? First of all, I have to get some caveats here. Was this printed or was this meant for print?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, it was just a pitch.
Okay. Well, the first of all, the fonts are too big.
Yeah.
They're taking up way too much space. Given the size of a standard comic book page, which I assume this is, the fonts are just enormous.
Yeah.
There's no balloon tail in panel 1 pointing to the direction of whoever's speaking, so it's nonsensical.
Yeah.
The shape of the balloon in the first panel, the representations and restrictions, those two words look similar, so they should be separated.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Some of this stuff, I will admit, some of this stuff is personal preference. So I would rearrange the shape of that particular block of text so that those words wouldn't be one on top of the other, because it's just a repeating image and it looks gaudy, much like the rest of the lettering.
Yeah.
So make the balloon a little bit more vertical instead of horizontal.
Okay.
In thickness.
And
panel
then
2, that tangent is killing me.
Panel 2,
that top balloon, the tangent is killing me. Again, a lot of this will be fixed with smaller.
Are you talking about right here?
The very top panel, yeah.
Tip top. Yep. I see that.
A tangent, for those of you that don't know, are when two lines sort of just touch each other and they caress one another when they shouldn't be. They should be overlapping, or in this case, you would have a balloon that was squished, and the text would come down more. Again, a lot of this would be fixed with a smaller font.
Yeah.
And the balloon would be more rounded, and then you'd cut off the top of the balloon and it would be floating, flush.
Nice.
Flush with the top of the panel as it is now, but done correctly.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, I thought about you this weekend because looking at this panel reminds me of it. So you see that?
Was it the duct tape part, or?
Well. I won't say the context. I'll just say.
Oh, okay.
But see how the tail is connecting those two?
Yeah.
When you've got two people kind of talking back and forth, how big of a no-no is it for those tails to cross each other?
Tails shouldn't cross, no.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Balloon tails don't cross.
I thought
that's a no-no. Now you could, I know you have your screen locked. You could have them each pointing towards the character, and they would, if you were to extend them, they could cross. Like, maybe that's kind of okay if you can't do it any other way. But if you can avoid it, get out of the way. Now, this isn't the way this is. This is the same guy's speech.
Yeah. He's blabbering on.
Yeah. So again, your balloons are too long. They need to be more round.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing there.
And the font is huge.
The font is huge. And that's the biggest thing with this particular comic, is that font is huge.
So Anne Graham has a question. This is something that came to my mind too. Can you explain how can Eric explain how to know what size to make your lettering so it won't be too small or too big for print? I'm always worried about that when I'm lettering.
Yeah, absolutely. Find a comic book page that's online that is what you want it to look like. Say X-Men #1 or whatever, a modern comic book, and just plaster, paste that page on the page you're lettering, and put it behind your lettering, and make sure your lettering isn't any bigger or smaller than it.
Yeah.
Basically, you just size it to the what's standard for the day, because each font can be a different size. It'll say 12, but 12 could be 14 on one font or 7 on another. So the font size number is relative.
So when you're lettering, you're not lettering on like 11 by 17 size. You size it down to the finished size, like 6
For the
by...
most part, it is scaled down already, but you can letter at full size because you are going to scale it down as long as the artwork that you put on to measure your size. And once you've done it a few times, you just kind of can eyeball it, but it's always good to double check.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a good one. And most of the time you are like I said, you are lettering already scaled down, but it's not always.
Very cool. Where do you want to look now?
We're still on panel 2.
Panel 2. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tangents on the top and bottom. And even on the bottom balloon of panel 2, it is, oh boy, it's almost overlapping on the right. So.
Oh, that's right. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got, okay, let's go to the panel 3 in the middle here.
Panel 3. Here we go.
Yeah.
See that? Okay,
right.
Chat. Yeah.
Can you see what I would point out first? Not counting balloon shape and not counting font size.
Font size. Not balloon. I was gonna say, like, it seems really wide.
That's true, but that's
okay. So something else. Let me think.
What would I point out that is really?
Oh, right. Tangent on the head here. Is that it?
On the hair?
On the hair. Yeah.
That's the one.
That's it.
Remember,
it's so
you gotta
simple.
Think of those circular ones as your friends because they squish in the information so you don't cover too much art or have hair getting hit. Think of those; they're your buddies.
Yeah, that's good. This is a fun game. Like, spot the tangent. For someone that's, I don't know, like me, like I can see it, I guess. But yeah, when it comes to mind right off the bat. So okay.
All right.
Next panel, or are there more problems here?
Again, it's covering a lot of artwork. There are 2 tangents. I'm sorry, I went to panel 4.
Panel 4.
Yeah, it's balloon shape. It's tangents.
Boom.
Your balloon tail on panel 3 is it's a little too pointy, and this may be a personal preference, but there is an option to round the pointiness of the ends of balloon tails, and I prefer that look. Just looks a little less harsh.
So I have maybe another question here too, and that is the thickness of the line around the balloon in comparison to like the line art. Is there something to consider there?
You want it can depend on the book. For instance, the one the sort of lettering and balloon outline that I'm doing on Monster MD is very calligraphic. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Yeah,
it's
calligraphy.
Yeah, it's got a certain variation in the thick to thin line as the circle goes around. But
do you want me to bring it up so I can show them?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Don't mind, so we can give you. You can be like a professor with his slides.
Yeah.
Shall I get my pipe? Let me get my pipe.
Get your pipe. Yeah.
Well, old chaps. Well, now let's earn that tuition you paid. So I will share my screen.
While you're bringing that up, now let me finish with Clint's page real quick.
Let me share it.
Because there's really not much else to say except you got to fix your tangents, dude. It's ridiculous.
Tangents. Okay, that's a big one.
And I'm not seeing. I'm looking. I may be overlooking, but I'm not seeing any incorrect eyes. So that's good.
What do you mean incorrect eyes?
So there are 2 types of eyes in lettering. There is your standard eye and a crossbar eye.
Yeah.
So the crossbar eye meaning it has the line on the crossbar on the top and bottom.
Yeah.
So the crossbar eye is used for the if the first letter of a balloon is an I, you use a crossbar eye there. If you're saying I, the pronoun, is that the right word? Pronoun? I?
Yeah.
It needs to be crossbar. Or if it's in a acronym like FBI or CIA, you would use a crossbar I. Otherwise, it's all just the regular non-crossbar, sans serif crossbar I.
Nice.
And there aren't any of those. So you know,
I do remember
kudos.
reading
It could
about
just be
that.
the words
Yeah,
that are on screen.
yeah, I'd have to look and see if I did any plain eyes on another page, but I do remember reading about that. So I at least knew that. It doesn't mean I followed it completely, but
yeah,
yeah, I did listen. Somebody asked who the artist is. This was Shannon Fowler that did the art, the line art here. I actually did the colors too.
Who wrote this?
who wrote this nonsense? This garbage.
Yeah, that was me.
You just said don't roast the art. You didn't say anything about the writing.
I mean, he's talking about duct tape and propaganda and cardboard walls.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, I mean, you're not really getting the whole thing in context, but
it's multi-layered.
You can roast the reason is I didn't do the artwork, so don't roast that, but you can roast roast me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, this is why you hired me, right?
Been roasted. Yeah.
Exactly. I've seen a lot worse amateur colors. I will say that.
Oh yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing this actually. It's like part of me is like, oh, I'd love to just do colors too, like, but it's just a whole other thing. So yeah, it was fun though. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. So what are we moving on to next?
Yeah. Let's see what you got.
Okay. First time anyone's seen these. Eric
secret.
turned these beauties in today, and I was just blown away. We finally kind of hit what we were going for. And I really hope that the eyes are okay on this, because I think there's a crossbar on the if.
Did I do that wrong?
I don't know.
I can roast my own. No,
Yeah,
but
you
if
can.
is the beginning of the balloon.
So it is a crossbar because it's the first word.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, it looks great. So this is what we have going for Monster MD.
Man, this looks good.
Yeah. So night and day difference. Not that I had to point it out, but yeah.
And see how Eric is, even if they're off panel, he does that tail in a way that's not intrusive and slides off panel really slick. And he does a good job of that. I never did that with my lettering. I always just did the circle and went like, yeah, he's off panel, I like that he added those tails, the bubbles have this really natural hand done feel, which I love and goes really well with the line art. These are things to consider when you're lettering, it's not just font choice and sizing and everything. It's, how do your bubbles work well with your aesthetic?
So the other thing that this page reminds me of is, like, I just started getting back the thumbnails for door kickers, and I really started thinking today, well, okay, so where's the word balloons? What's the placement of the captions, things like that? And so there's a lot of stress, involved as a writer. Previously, I had an editor to really think about all that stuff, but I've tried to caveat all my feedback with that in mind.
So I have this is on topic. I started reading Jawbreakers, last night, and this is a lettering question, but I think it's more of a writing question, because I know, Eric, the pages that you lettered of mine, when in comics you bold certain words sometimes for emphasis. The way that you and I did it, I bolded those in the script, and you bolded them in the lettering. So I'm thinking that that's probably how it normally works with you. Is that correct, or do you add bolding yourself?
It depends on the project. If I get the feeling that here, let me back up a little bit. I tend to read comics. I don't know if the voice in my head is different than the voice of the writer, but a lot of comics I would read growing up, I would feel the emphasis was misplaced and the wrong words were bolded. I always felt that way. I couldn't point out any specifics because it was, I'm reaching back.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Well,
but like Jawbreakers, the bolds were in there. They were in the script.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So this is more of a criticism. I can criticize him because he criticizes me too. But
No,
this
go for it.
is for your boy Zach. He's bolding way too many words in any given balloon. Like it. I've actually I've been enjoying the story so far. I didn't have enough time to read it, but I've been trying to like look at the writing stuff because I feel like that's more where I can add something.
Mhm.
And I feel like he's bolding far too frequently. When everything's emphasized, nothing is emphasized. And I was trying
That's
to
a good
think of why did he emphasize? I'd have to pull up specifics. Why did he emphasize this word? Why is this word bolded? And there should be some kind of reason. So yeah,
You know
I'm
what
not,
I've noticed is when I was lettering it, honestly, I was reading it with his voice in my head. And I think that's why I didn't even pick up on there being too many bolds, because the way his cadence of speech is, I think he can kind of emphasize words as he's speaking.
Yeah.
And I think I was picturing that his voice when I was lettering, so it didn't really.
Yeah.
Hi everyone,
That's
it's
fair.
your boy Zach. I ate a burrito today. Swear to God, worse than Afghanistan. Anyway, don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I'm a Marine, and I love that guy, dude. I love him. He's got such a great charisma, and I would hear his voice too if I was working on anything he wrote. I totally get that.
Don't get me wrong. I like the guy.
It's not the charisma; it's just the sheer honesty and clarity of thought,
the passion.
You know,
he's passionate too. He truly loves this medium. You know.
Yeah.
Hey,
I want to rewind here for a second. Angram in the chat says, I add bolding myself. My writer lets me get a feel for it. I mean, I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, a lot of times, so I'm very sparing in the bolds, because, from time to time I'll bold a name, like when somebody shows up and they say, hey, Scott, what are you doing? Bold Scott, not hey and what, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would be, as a writer, I don't have so much ego that, like let's say Eric's Eric's lettering door kickers. If Eric comes back and says, hey, you had this bolded, but I don't think that works. What about this and this? I would be like, yeah, man,
Yeah. Like
can
it's good to be open to it, but I love emphasis to really help define, like, kind of gives each each character their voice.
All right.
Yeah, you shouldn't have too much. I'm sorry. I'm going to double down though. Like you should not have too much emphasis too frequently. And I realize it's an art for sure, but like I'm looking through it and I'm like, and maybe I don't know. Like, and again, I'm enjoying it. It's not that I'm not, but I'm being very critical. So I'll think of that. But
I think in a comic like Jawbreaker, too much of anything is clearly a bad thing. I think in a comic like Jawbreakers, I'm more okay with it because of the bombastic, like, high adventure, like, style of it, like where it is over the top by design. In other comics, I would be more skeptical of it, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
The other thing too is, as a writer, I feel good in my writing abilities, but I feel less good in my comic writing abilities. So, I mean, I don't feel like I have the answer. You know what I mean? So when in doubt, less is more when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are things I've scripted or lettered that have had no bolds. There are things that I've lettered that I've had no bolds and I've added them. And if the writer, I mean, whoever's sending me the art, it's usually the writer, unless the writer's the artist. I guess they're still a writer. I digress. If I add bolds that aren't in the script and they don't say anything, obviously they see it, they're reviewing the pages, then I assume they approve.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with sound effects. There are books that I've lettered that they just say, they will say what the sound effects are, and they're specific about that. Or other times they'll be specific about some sound effects and not specific about others. And I will just roll with it and see what works. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I miss it. but most of the times I hit it. So.
I have a page up here where Eric, without my direction, emphasized the word shotgun, and he made it big and red and fun, and like added to the humorous touch of it, and like that's great. You know, I didn't have to tell him that, and like I'm totally good with it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. If there's if maybe I'll do a review. I'm going to finish reading it and I'll do a review and actually show what I mean. And I think it'll make more sense. And I feel like that, I mean, he roasts comics, so I think he would accept feedback. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Nope. So I'm like, I'm not going to be afraid. So don't get me wrong. I really like Zach. He's the one that got me into all this. I really like, I'm actually enjoying the book. I want to finish it, but I still I feel like there's constructive feedback there. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, something else about this CG ecosystem that we're in. I mean, so going back to the example of, I don't know if I've offered you the job yet, Eric, but I mean, I feel like I am just as much as I'm, talking about using you as an example.
I thought you have.
I think so too. So Eric, I just like to officially announce that Eric's going to be doing the lettering for Door Kickers. Anyway, so now that I've said that, so like, in this environment, I mean, it's way more collaborative than any other comic environment I've ever heard of. So I would, I'd sit down and I would probably, instead of sending him the letter script, like I would, because normally you've got your normal script and that goes to the artist. You get thumbnails, you get some feedback on thumbnails. He draws the pages, and then after the pages are drawn, then you go back and you change the captions and the dialogue to kind of fit better the action. And then so when you've done that, that goes back to the editor, and then the editor sends that to the letterer, and the letterer letters it, But I feel like in this environment, Eric, I mean, it would be like I would send you that script and I'd say, hey, let's do a read through with this. Let's go through each page. Let's talk about how things fit. And that way it's more of a collaboration, because I don't want a name on my book to not feel like not that they contributed, but they own their piece of the book.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely a collaboration of artists making it work together. Yeah. It's like being in a band, and you're not going to leave anyone's name off.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're not going to, if you as the IP creator, if you're not going to have your, I don't want to say have your hands in everything, because then it sounds like you just want to control everything. But if you don't care about every aspect, then I don't think you're doing it right. Yeah. I think you have to have some care put into, even if you're not the letter, if you're not lettering it or coloring it or whatever, if you just take it for whatever comes in and say, yep, that's good, and don't, tweak it to saying, oh, what could we add this? Or, what, now that I read it, I think it's coming across wrong. I want to change the dialogue on panel 3. Mm-hmm. I just think it works well. I mean, I think that's a lot of how the lettering stage goes. And I can come across things that maybe a more inexperienced writer wouldn't think about. Like say you have a talking head scene, but you have a paragraph worth of text for each panel. And it's like, this isn't going to work. I mean, if you want to write a novel, you're in the wrong business.
So logistically, and that's a big part of it is, and artists can help you out with that too. Sticking to word counts. And I'll actually go through my script and count words to make sure I'm like within reason. Sometimes I'll push the limit a little, but it's something I've noticed even with with Downcast. I just got back some thumbnails from Nacho, and he had a suggestion for one of the lines. Like, it wouldn't have changed the art necessarily, but he had a better suggestion for one of the dialogue lines, even though I'm going to go through all the dialogue again before I send it to Eric to letter. But it was a great suggestion, and this is the second time he's done that. And so, I don't know, I feel like anytime you have if you're hiring people, because they're good at what they do, then it behoove you to take advice from them, because that's why you hired them, right? It's not why you're not doing it yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you are kind of a director with a vision, and you're either going to attend to all the aspects to help it come together to make that vision, or you're going to just look the other way and just hope for the best, roll the dice. And I can't do that. But I don't want to ever be too controlling. I want to appreciate these other artists and their craft. And hopefully that's where I start to see myself as not just a director, but as a kind of mediator who helps it all work together.
Yeah. I kind of, this may change with years under my belt, but I kind of enjoy the, let's get down and work on it together, because I want to make the product that I'm being hired to make. I want it to match the person's visualization of it, because they have an idea of what it's going to look like. Even lettered, I'm sure they have an idea of what it's going to look like in their mind. Like, this balloon's going to go here and yada, yada, yada. And they don't see that first. I see that first. I've said before, it's one of the perks of the job. I get to read every comic first, even before the other creators do, because I'm putting the touches on the lettering.
But the difference is when you read it, you're reading it as a letterer, but also as a fan, and you get to actually say, "Hey,
it depends on the book."
You get to give that feedback, and that's a very unique and powerful position if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, here's a little nugget that I have for Graveyard Shift fans. If you got the ash can, mine's put away, so I can't go grab it. But the scene where the creature character is summoning his Kraken little plushie, and he reads this incantation, or he says this phrase to summon this thing. I made that up. So there was something written like in the script, and it was sort of in there, like, but I was like, what if we do this? Yada, 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 yada. And that's what got picked. So, cool. I like being a part of that collaboration as well. So,
another one that, I don't remember. I have one sound effect on those 5 pages that you lettered, of a window breaking. Well, there's 2, but Nacho did the gunshots, and I did a different sound. I always struggle with what should be the sound effect, like onomatopoeia. You know what I mean? Like what should the word be? I struggle with that, and so I put some gunshot sounds that I looked up online, and then Nacho just changed it. And then I don't remember what I did for the sound for the window breaking. I don't know if you used what I did or if you did something else, but it works. And that's always like a struggle for me as a writer. I'm like, I don't know what the right sound is. Like, what is there like a typical sound that you should be having? Do you know what I mean? With gunshots, or like, is it personal preference?
I think it's preference, and a letterer or a writer can be creative with those too. There's some examples. If you look up comic book sound effects on Google Images, you get this. It's from like a Hercules comic. Let me see if I can find it. But the sound effects are the words themselves, are the action that's happening. Like in Doug, like I was reading Bigfoot Bill, and it's very common to have a person grabbing something and there be a sound effect of the word grab. That's common. So, but I'll have to look for it. But there's this like Hercules is either kicking somebody in the groin or getting kicked in the groin, and the sound effect is like nut crack or nut punch, but it's in a sound effect style. Funny. So
nut. I don't know, like,
it's something like that. I don't know where it is. But.
Well, let me check in on chat here.
Yeah.
John Podester says, this is semi-related. What should an author send to an artist so that the comic book comes out like what they see when they're writing? I don't know that it's ever going to come out exactly what you see when you're writing. And I think that's a good thing. Depends on the artist. I write in full script, but I tell my artist, that I'm collaborating with, that they can ignore it and change it. So I plan on writing, basically, going through the whole script and changing it once he's done doing the art. And then I make that my lettering script. And so that way all the panels line up and everything. That's how I do it. I think there's many other ways to do that.
I can give some tips that can help.
Yeah.
One is just making something called an image board, and that is just taking all of the imagery that you want, that you associate with your vision, the aesthetics, the lighting, the tech, the characters, the clothing, whatever, the city, anything that really, like any art, concept art or picture from a movie, anything that you represents that world that you see. Take it and put it on a board all next to each other, a la Pinterest, and when you're pitching your thing, send that to people so they see what you're going for through that image board. And also, and when I do that, people almost instantly get Monster MD because they see the dilapidated truck with the weird runes on it, and they see the creepy monster stuff and the doctor stuff that's all, old school and messed up. But then another thing I can recommend is character designs. It can't hurt to get good, solid character designs down before you start. Hire an artist or do them yourself.
Yeah. I did my own character designs, and even though I'm not a great artist by any means, it still conveyed a message. I didn't do all the character designs, but I did some important ones, I guess. And Anagram actually had a really similar suggestion. Besides the script, I think it's not a bad idea to share references, inspiration. It may be just images, medias, movie, shows, comics.
Yep.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah, you want to get the artist in your headspace if you're the writer. It's just as simple as that. And what Von Klaus said is right. Either adding images within the script or linking to a Pinterest board is perfect, because as an artist myself, it's very easy to either one, not know what they're going for at all. Say it's a historically accurate time period and you're not familiar with it, and all they say is it takes place in 1200 in England. Well, maybe the person writing it knows what that means and what that looks like as far as character designs and clothing and all of that, but you may not know that as the artist. So you're going to have to say, can you boil it down for me? I need a little help here, because you might be drawing things and they're like, oh no, that's French. Yeah, we don't want any of that French stuff in here.
That's an interesting point. I mean, because, for door kickers, it's a very much, there's two types of references. Well, I mean, I would say there's more than that, but I'm using two types. That's technical references, i.e. guns, uniforms, gear, stuff like that. It's like, hey, listen, I know you don't know about this stuff. I know about this stuff. He needs to look like this, right? That's the kind of. And then the second type of reference is getting back to the tone, right? Like, what's the tone of my book? Is it, hey, it's a dark cyberpunky thing. Hey, watch Blade Runner, and that's the tone. Or watch, whatever. Not saying, hey, make it look like this, but like that's the, that kind of ennui or something like that. So, here, listen to this music, look at this comic, things like that. I think that's very important. And you have to have a language between the two of you. It can't just be the pictures. You have to explain what you're getting at in the picture. When I send you a reference for something, I need to be specific and say, listen, this is the gun that this character will use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or this character is not important. Let them have any gun. Just or make it up. So, and I think it's important that that the artist trust in your vision as a writer and say, okay, I know where he wants to be specific, and then he's given me a lot of latitude over here to be very, more tonal versus specifically concrete.
There's another thing to that. I mean, for me, especially, I know there's many other writers that do this, but using emotional language when you're writing a script, I'm less about describing what the person looks like when they're saying it. But I will say, like, Joanne is speaking, and then I'll put a few just emotional words there, like mad, angry, whatever. Put some emotional words, and then let the artist do the acting, so to speak. And I think that makes it for me, like, that's important. Like, I want facial expressions in it to tell you something.
Unless there's like a specific gesture, like Anna is mad and speaks, pointing her finger in Steve's chest.
Yeah. Another thing that artists have told me that they really appreciate is at the top of every page, you write a note of what is happening on that page. So it's like a little mini reference. Like, you probably would have to cover like what the conflict is, whatever. It's like, in this page is the big, it could be simple. Like, this page is the big fight scene. Or this page, he's trying to, be tender with her, but she's not having it. Just things like that really help get them in the mode for what's going to be on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I draw a page, I want my single page to tell a story. I want you to be able to go from panel 1 to panel 4, 5, or 6 and know what's going on. So direction like that is helpful.
Azuka in the chat says, I think meanings and explanations for military things should be put in the bottom of the page, not the panel. I think that's in reference to Jawbreakers specifically. I never was into G.I. Joe comics. I'm assuming that that's kind of what he was paying homage to. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with that, just because I felt like that's what he was doing.
If I could just jump in there. So the golden standard for how military comics convey information within a panel, like acronyms and things like that, because military stuff gets very jargony, is G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is the touchstone that I go back to for kind of like, how do I do that? And it's always the LRRPS stalk through the jungle, right? It'll have an asterisk next to LRRPS in the caption, and then there'd be a caption at the bottom of the panel. It says asterisk LRRPS, long range reconnaissance patrols, right? I mean, so that's how they did it. I mean, the idea, and I kind of got away from that in my free. By the way, if you sign up for my mail, you just get a free Door Kickers teaser comic. And I got away from that and I was like, oh, well, my editor came up with the idea. Well, we'll do like a glossary at the back. That way people don't get hung up on looking that stuff up during the book. But it did the exact opposite. People got pulled out of the story because they didn't know what the acronyms meant. So for the remastered version of both that book and then also the 48-page story, I'm going to go back to that. If it's in the panel, it's going to be in a caption at the bottom of the panel.
Mm-hmm. This is a really interesting thing with writing and comics that's specific, because you would not get this kind of stuff in a novel, like with most topics. Okay. If there's I know there's like epic fantasy books that have different ways of adding all this like explanation and back information and stuff. But it is really interesting, because this is a thing that's been part of comics, just the medium itself. And so there is definitely some like storytelling conventions that just work for comic, or they just been used for comics. So people are used to seeing them. This is one of those things. I mean, I don't read a lot of military comics, so I don't see it a lot, but I'm aware of it. But yeah, another thing is like show don't tell. In comics, there's still telling that happens, and I think part of that is, there's quite a bit of telling actually. Part of that is because you have a collaboration, and so you have to make sure you're clear to the reader through the whole process. So,
well, I think that.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, I think the show don't tell isn't applicable to trying to explain or decipher military jargon, because if you wanted in the script to say, this is a tow missile, and you put it in there as T.O.W. I think I said that right. Then you want to know. Then you should explain what that means. But you know, the show don't tell is more about like show the action, show the event that's being talked about. Don't just talk about it. You don't need to exposize. You don't need a lot of exposition.
That still happens in comics.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
They'll be like, "Whoa, good thing we just dodged that, train or whatever." But I think a lot of that is just the part like you're gonna miss.
I'm of two minds about this. I mean, and this is a conflict I have literally in the script that I'm currently polishing off, and that goes back to I want people who are reading my book for the first time, who have no idea about this world, not to have to think too hard about what the hell is going on, right? So to that extent, you've got that exposition. You know, one of the things, if you went back to, if you reread a lot of Chris Claremont stuff, both New Mutants, X-Men, that stuff from the 80s, there is a lot of repetition over, 2 or 3. Like if you sit down and you read 10 issues in a row, you'll see a lot of the same stuff hit over and over and over again because of that kind of cyclical, serialized nature. You've got to kind of reintroduce, like, you never know when Johnny's going to pick up his first X-Men comic.
Yep, that was Claremont's. That was his reasoning. He said every comic is somebody's first comic.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's great.
So there's got to be a balance. That being said, if I'm talking about a tow missile, unless I'm referring to it in the well, do you think we'll be able to hit them? And if I said, well, the tow missile's got a range of 4 kilometers, so yeah, I think we're good. If that's the dialogue and I'm sitting there looking through the task site on a tow, then yeah, I'm going to have to explain what a tow missile is.
Tow missiles are so fun, aren't they, by the way?
See, when I hear tow missile, I just think it's a missile. You know what I mean? Like, is there a specific thing that makes a tow missile unique?
Yeah, it's a guided missile, and generally speaking, it has wires attached to the back of it, and you can guide it to the target essentially through the sights.
So you wouldn't want to say guided missile in a comic because that would be like inauthentic, or
you could, yeah, it depends.
Again, I think it's
depends on how technical you want to be.
Right, it has to do with the genre, I'm sure.
I dropped a link into the chat of tow missiles being used in Syria. It's awesome.
No, well, now I know I'm going to stop watching Oprah reruns.
Finally, he broke his habit. Yeah.
Hey, somebody mentioned in chat to give a shout out to Gary Shipman. I've got that pulled up right now. It's 4 hours left right now. I imagine it's less than 4 hours. 90. Oh my goodness, he's so close. This is an omnibus, so this is huge. Let me see what this is. He's only a few $100s away from hitting the goal, and only 4 hours left. So close. And Gary Shipman
flexible.
Let's see. It is a flexible goal.
Okay,
so to me, that just says, don't be afraid to back it. Then I'm just gonna look at some of the stuff here. 1 and 2 digitally is $5. The coloring book, it's got tons of stuff. Here's the omnibus. Oh, digital copy. I want to see the soft cover. $40.
If 4 of us get the $75 omnibus, we can put them over the top.
There you go. Yeah, it really doesn't take that many people, but yeah, Gary Shipman is amazing. Really good art. Yeah, professional stuff. So yeah. We'll just give a shout out there. Maybe I'm going to take this link and drop it too, just to make sure everybody sees it.
Nice.
And that was a man in lunacy that pointed that out. So thank you. I'm going to post the link there. That's to Gary Shipman's book.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, I think I'm probably going to call it a night. Appreciate everyone coming on the stream. It's been a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of comics, actually. I think we do need to do like a good, roast my lettering. I think I have some earlier stuff I've worked on that's worse.
Oh, goody. I can't wait.
I think this was a good teaser, though.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I hope it's helpful to people. I know it's helpful to me. Just to like, there's a lot of things you have to juggle. And that's why ultimately I'm an advocate for just hiring people that know what they're doing. Unless you want to dedicate, like if you want to become a letterer, there's nothing wrong to, putting in the time and really focusing on learning how to letter. That's great. But if you're a writer and you just think, well, I could letter, that's easy. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say,
Yeah.
if anybody out there's looking for a letterer, I'm lettering these three guys' here's books. So, I'm available. Hit me up on Twitter.
For good reason. Yeah, and Eric, you've got Operation Zephyr. That's your book coming out soonish.
Coming out soon-ish, a little later than sooner. But I'm the wheels are turning behind the scenes. We've got a script for the first 2 chapters, which is basically the first book. I am toiling away on getting my reference boards built for myself. Was that me? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
That was weird.
I didn't hear anything.
There was a buzz that just popped up. It distracted me. So yeah, Operation Zephyr. It is a dystopian future military retelling of The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy Gale, an analyst for the Army, goes on a mission to find her father, who's been missing, who was taken from her when she was about 15 years old. And in it, she's trying to find this mythical lost land known as Oz. And along the way, she finds some bad hombres that like to shoot guns and tow missiles and things like that.
Flying monkeys.
But yeah, there are flying monkeys. There are AI constructs and all sorts of crazy things.
Imagine a tow missile hitting a flying monkey.
There you go. Now, see, now we've got goals. Those are squad goals right there.
I'm gonna Google
let me
that.
get the mailing list here in the chat. You can sign up for the mailing list and have access to a secret tier only available to mailing list subscribers. I know that may sound familiar to you, Clint, but what can I say?
Yep.
Greatness breeds greatness.
It's a win-win for everybody involved. So, yeah. Yeah, he'll pop that in. Then we have Von Klaus with Monster MD is coming out not next week. Cool it, everybody. Not next week.
Chill. Back down.
We want it
down. End of May 29th, I guess. Or on the 28th, right when it hits midnight and then it turns 29th. I'm thinking we're gonna launch this puppy. So be ready, everybody. Eric Weathers on letters, and as you just heard, he taught a pretty dang good class on it. So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And then we have Scott with Door Kickers. When's Door Kickers coming out? Not next week.
Still looking at beginning of July. For those who aren't tracking Door Kickers, I think your audience is pretty familiar, but just to hit it again, it's Zero Dark 30 meets the Call of Cthulhu, special operations guys, kicking in doors and taking down cultists and demons and other things that go bump in the dark, using both guns and tow missiles, but also magic swords and all kinds of potions and scrolls and D&D style kind of magical powers. So it's a good mashup of several different worlds.
Very cool. And then Downcast is only $75 away from $22,000. So thank you, the new backer we picked up there. Really appreciate that. And with that, I think we're going to say goodbye to everyone. So have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.